All right, for example 1, after learning long division, mathematicians, they are inherently lazy. They always like to write things in short form, like, the XER and all those short things that you have to learn. Long division takes a lot of space, and you have to write x squared a lot of times and x cubed a lot of times. So what they did is they said, can we do this in a quicker way so that it doesn't take as much to write? So they said, instead of writing x to the 4, x cubed, x squared, and x and 5 every time, if I just wrote those numbers down, and have sort of a place for them, I'll know that this is a constant, the 5, and then work my way backwards, and I'd eventually get to that final spaces in x to the 4. Also said, in long division, where was the number one mistake that you made errors with? Was in subtracting, right? Subtracting the negatives and remembering all the signs is so easy to make a simple mental math mistake there. They said, well, for synthetic division, we can avoid that. Because we're dividing by x plus 2, we can avoid that error by writing the opposite sign of the plus 2 over here and say we're going to divide by minus 2. And then they said, and we're going to go back to the previous example and say, we saw some patterns. When you do enough long division, you start to notice some patterns. The first pattern that you noticed in the ones that we've done so far is that whatever our first value was here, when you're multiplying by an x, that always matches up with the first one there. Doesn't matter what that number is, that's always going to be the same. So when in our synthetic division, the first thing we're going to do is say, well, if my first number is a minus 3x to the 4, and I was doing long division, the first thing I would have would be a minus 3. So for synthetic division, they say, just bring down this minus 3, because that will always be there first. The second thing that we notice when we do long division is whatever number you put there, that number got multiplied by the x, which writing this down was so, it always canceled out. So for a mathematician, they're saying, that's wasting time, because I know it's going to cancel out. So I could probably avoid that step. But the important thing is this 3 gets multiplied by this 2 as well to give us this 6. So 3 times 2 gave us 6, and then we subtracted. So in synthetic division, what we do at the next step is we say, well, this 3 has to get multiplied by this 2. And if I do negative 2 times by that negative 3, I'm going to get 6. And before we subtracted, but because we already made it negative, instead of subtracting, we can add. So 2 plus 6 gives us 8. And in long division, we did this step over and over and over and over again. So in synthetic division, if we don't write all that extra stuff, we're going to have this negative 2 is going to get multiplied by this 8 and give us negative 16. And then we add and get negative 13. And then that negative 2 is going to get multiplied by that negative 13. And you get negative 26. And you add and get negative 30. And they get multiplied again, and you get negative 60. And you add and get negative. Positive, yes, it should be positive 26. There we go, good. You still can make adding and subtracting mental math errors in these ones as well. So then we would get 22, and then negative 2 times 22 is negative 44. And you get negative 39. And now we can write our division statement. Our original polynomial was negative 3x to the 4 plus 2x cubed plus 3x squared minus 4x plus 5. equals our divisor. So here's polynomial dq plus r. Our divisor was x plus 2. Our answer, now when we go to write the answer, a couple ways you can think of it. You could start with this and say this is your remainder. The very last number will be your remainder, and work your way back. So this is remainder, this will be constant. This will be with what's with x, this will be what is with x squared, and this will be what is going to be with x cubed. So you can work your way backwards that way. Or the other thing you can think about is if I have an x to the 4 as my original one, and I'm dividing by an x, my highest power is going to be an x cubed. Because I started with an x to the 4, I divided by x, my highest power is going to be an x cubed. Then you can work your way from right to left. So if I know that that's an x cubed, I'm going to get minus 3x cubed plus 8x squared minus 13x plus 22, and the remainder is minus 39. So I'll write minus 39 at the end. And this is synthetic division. So whereas the first one, with long division, you had to write out a whole bunch of stuff and see what's happening. With synthetic division, you get the answer without having to write nearly as much stuff, and it's a lot nicer. Now in the curriculum before your curriculum, they used to teach long division and only long division in grade 10, and they used to teach synthetic division and only synthetic division in grade 11, and then combine what we're going to do in grade 12 in grade 12. And so you'd go through your whole year doing long division. And then you get to grade 11 and they'd show you this shortcut, and you would be so mad that you had a whole year that you had to do it the long way, and no one told you that this was, I could have saved so much space by doing synthetic division. So they put them together now. And over time, you will like this one a lot better because it is a lot quicker. So the questions you can do for this one are 8, 9, 11, and 12. I'm going to give you some time to try number 8 because I want you to practice this synthetic division a little bit, and then we can go on.